Okay, so just a few quick things to start off the video. First of all, I'm not here to cancel anybody. That's not my job. And secondly, if you really believe that the 2021 Astroworld deaths were part of some sort of ritual or sacrifice, please click off the video. I don't have time for that kind of stupidity. Now, I've read a lot of first-hand accounts and headlines trying to figure out what exactly happened at Astroworld. There was a thread posted on the Travis Scott subreddit where attendees of the festival were invited to share their experiences, and generally the responses have a lot in common. Essentially, mass confusion within the sections of the crowd that were hit with crowd rush. A lot of people wrote about not even being able to tell they were trampling other people because they themselves were getting pushed over by the weight of the people behind them. A lot of people wrote about survivor's guilt. Some people wrote about the stress and trauma of seeing unconscious bodies that later turned out to be deceased, the pain of watching medical staff struggle to do their jobs amidst the chaos. Honestly, a lot of these responses were pretty dark and hard to get through. But once I got past the top comments, it seems like the most common sentiment from people who were actually there was that they had a normal experience and they didn't realize anything had gone wrong at all until after Travis' set was over and they had already left. And naturally, in a crowd of 50,000 people with 300 injuries, the majority of people aren't going to notice something's actually wrong, especially towards the back of the crowd where things were calmer. Now, I also watched as many video clips of the event as I possibly could, but the video clips that are available don't really prove any one point one way or the other. Now, this was made a lot more complicated when it was revealed that the concert was declared a mass casualty event during Travis' set. Yet due to a combination of unknown factors like miscommunication, he ended up finishing it anyway, which took another 37 minutes. What I mean by that is that the Houston police made the decision to declare a mass casualty incident at the concert, yet somehow no one ended up telling Travis to stop the show. In fact, documents have come out in the last few hours that show only 2 people at the event had the power to stop the show if need be, the event producer and the festival director, and neither of them did it. And I think that's where the biggest responsibility for this tragedy lies. You have tons of headlines out right now saying stuff like, for 37 minutes after Astroworld was declared a mass tragedy, Travis Scott played on. Now, look, in reality, there were, or at least there should have been, tons of people on standby to monitor and manage something like this, especially at a festival of 50,000 people. Travis's job is to sing, rap, and dance. He's not supposed to manage crowd control or communicate with first responders while he's performing on a stage. I'm not saying he did or didn't know people were dying because we don't know, and I'm not going to accuse him of something without proof. But LiveNation, the producers of Astrofest, have a long-standing history of being linked to deaths and injuries at concerts, with hundreds of deaths and thousands of injuries reported at their shows over the last 15 years alone, at least according to this article from NPR. But as the biggest event producers in the US, they were hired to design and plan the show. Clearly, their planning was horribly inadequate. It's the concert producer's responsibility to plan the event in a way where the crowd can safely and freely move around. And you can't put responsibility for this on a performer when there were so many other people on the chain of command who could have taken control of the event or planned it properly so this didn't happen in the first place. At least that's what I would have said if Astrofest had been headlined by literally anyone else. But there is responsibility on Travis' shoulders too. I've been a fan of Travis for years. I'm a 22-year-old white guy. It's part of my job description. So I've known about the darker side of his concerts for almost as long. Travis has been arrested twice for encouraging concertgoers to ignore security and rush the stage at his shows. In 2017, just minutes after he encouraged a fan to jump off a crowded balcony at a show in New York City, a different fan was forced over the railing on an even higher balcony and broke his back before being hauled off the show floor. He ended up being paralyzed from the waist down for years, and he's likely going to spend the rest of his life with severely limited mobility. Even at 2019's Astroworld, there were 3 severe injuries when people were trampled by a crowd rushing to enter the festival. It's not like these incidents are just one-offs or little quirks about Travis shows. If you didn't previously know much about Travis, this was honestly a pretty big deal, and a lot of people in the hip-hop community don't like Travis's shows because of how he promotes and encourages an extremely chaotic and stressful concert atmosphere to his massive fan base of teenagers. You can look at this clip that just resurfaced this week of Travis literally ordering his fans to beat the shit out of someone who stole his shoe while he was crowd surfing.
You tried to take my shoe? You want to be a thief? Fuck them up! Fuck them up! Fuck them up!
You know, my fans really mean the world to me.
Travis, as a 30-year-old adult man whose name is on the festival, has to have some awareness of the injuries he's caused in the past. And he should also know that his fans have a history of doing things like stampeding security guards and breaking barricades and hurting other audience members. Instead, he encouraged people to break down barriers and enter the festival without tickets. This is what makes the Astroworld tragedy different from other concerts where people have been trampled. The artist himself used his words to create conditions that allowed this to happen, or at the very least, he made it worse. And for that reason, it's not as simple as, oh, LiveNation didn't do their job, Travis was just performing and LiveNation failed everybody. No, Travis has been creating extremely risky concert environments for years, and it's finally reached a point where he has to answer for it. Look, no one in their right mind can claim that Travis was trying to kill people. He was trying to risk his entire career and all of his money and good reputation, but he clearly wasn't paying attention to safety before the event either, which 100% contributed to this horrible situation in a major way. At the end of the day, LiveNation is a billion-dollar company and they can pay for their mistake. But Travis is a person, and there are a few things here that could permanently hurt his career, and it looks like that process is already underway, considering that the current number of lawsuits sits at 20, with all of them naming LiveNation as a defendant and most of them going after Travis as well. A quote from Thomas J. Henry, a lawyer involved in one of the suits, says this: "For 38 minutes, Travis Scott and Drake were performing after there was already a disaster emergency declared. These particular performers should have simply stopped and been part of the solution, not increased and thrown gasoline on the fire. We believe they were negligent." The thing about this is we have no proof yet that Drake or Travis were even told to stop performing or that they even knew anything was wrong. I'm sure we're going to find out in the coming weeks, but it is very, very unlikely that anyone actually told Drake or Travis that there were people dying in the field while they were on stage. Logically, even if they wanted to keep going, why would they let the show go on? Why would they risk everything for that? At the end of the day, there are so many ways this could have been prevented. In my opinion, LiveNation deserves the majority of the blame for the deaths and the injuries. It was their job to run the event and set it up and monitor everything, and it was also definitely their job to tell the performer to stop performing when the concert was declared a mass casualty site, especially considering a security guard came out with a video explaining how he was only given a day of training before the show and ended up walking off the job because they asked him to work front gate security with literally no experience. And he said that there was only one security guard hired for every 500 concert goers. That's just 100 security guards in total. For Travis, I also do think he's partially responsible for this. Because of the dangerous concert environment Travis has created throughout his career and the way he encouraged people to break down gates, but at the same time, a billion-dollar event management company should have the expertise and planning knowledge to stop a bunch of kids from accidentally creating a crowd rush and hurting and killing themselves. I think it's going to be really hard for Travis to come back from the blood on his name, especially because of how his apology video felt so fake. At this point, news sources are reporting that the FBI is looking into potential criminal responsibility for the deaths. And honestly, I think it's pretty possible that Travis could be held responsible in some way, especially considering his past with inciting riots and encouraging fans to hurt themselves at his shows, though the majority of responsibility will probably fall on the event's directors. At this point, I think it's pretty unlikely that Travis will be able to perform live anytime soon, if ever again. He won't be able to get insured at any venue for the foreseeable future or possibly ever. His album will most likely be delayed, and I doubt he's going to continue getting more endorsements from big brands like Reese's Puffs, McDonald's, Fortnite. I'm not going to say we should cancel him without proof of him doing what we think he did, but to me, listening to Travis' music just feels wrong right now, and at the moment, it just doesn't look good for him. I'm not going to run and call him a bastard, a piece of shit. I'm not going to say he should be in jail forever, but it's a bad situation, especially considering the Houston Police Department said they visited Travis's trailer a few hours before the show and warned him to be extra careful. In all, he really does look like an asshole, especially since all of his past mistakes have come to light. This is one of the most tragic things to happen in the music community in a very, very long time. I can't imagine the trauma of being stuck in a crowd crush like so many people were. I can't imagine the trauma of the victims' families losing their kids, siblings, boyfriends, girlfriends at a concert. I can't imagine the survivor's guilt or the feeling of seeing dead bodies transported through a crowd at a show. It's something no one should ever have to experience. I'm going to end the video now, but I hope all my viewers are safe, and I hope something like this never happens again.